Are you ready? High voltage is upon us. Join our hosts, Chris and Sean, while they turn up the voltage.
Welcome back to a brand new season, a brand new year for Dadnarok High Voltage. This is Sean.
And this is Chris.
Hey, we are back here again. It is season 2 of our live show here. We do an audio podcast, of course. You can find anywhere podcasts are found, but this is our live version where we stream. We stream live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. So join us each and every Friday. This week is kind of a standard high voltage episode, just me and Chris BSing random stuff. But catch us next week as we start a brand new series where we're going to take a deep dive review of each episode of WandaVision that starts up on Disney Plus next week. So stay tuned for that. But Chris, how's it going?
Oh, it's going well. And let me add one more thing on top of that for you. We are interactive. If we say something stupid or you have any point you want to add to us, let us know. We will address it if we feel like it needs addressed.
If you want to call us names or whatever.
Exactly. But you asked a question. What was that question again, sir?
Oh, I forget. It was so long ago. What have you been up to?
Well, I mean, I kind of spent my break here because we've been down for about almost a 2-week period of time.
We took a legit hiatus.
Yeah. We're one of those hiatuses that some podcasts don't come back from.
No, we had every intention of coming back after the holidays.
Well, my wife shut us down, so it's kind of funny. No, but I took a deep dive into DC's movies. The Aquaman, the Wonder Woman movies. Well, at the end of the second Wonder Woman, there was Wonder Women, but
that's true.
That's something we can talk about, when we get to that point. But I've never been a big DC person. I've always been a Marvel. Marvel hooked me. Marvel did their job. They did it well. They got the hooks into me, and they had me for a decade plus. I mean, ongoing until I'm pretty much burnt out. DC was kind of one of those ones that I loved. Batman. I've always loved Batman. Batman was my thing back when we were little. I remember Batman and Forever and all those, going to the theater and watching them and the goofy levels and everything with them. And that was the only thing. I never could stand Superman. Yeah, and I think your thing was like my thing was he was just too impregnable. You couldn't beat him in any way.
He was the Boy Scout. What was the first DC movie you remember seeing in the theaters? Was it Batman Forever?
I think it's got to be Batman Forever. Yeah,
that was the double feature with Congo.
Yes, that was it. Yeah, that was your mom set us on a path that day.
Yeah.
When we seen which one did we see first? Was it Congo or was it Batman Forever?
I can't remember which one we saw first. I just know it was a double feature. It had to be 1995, summer 95. That's when they came out. And in between, I think we went to McDonald's and had that Batman burger. It was like double burger.
It was kind of like a Big Mac.
Yeah.
But on a McRib kind of bun.
It was. Yeah. It was a longer bun and the patties were side by side. It was strange.
Yeah, I mean, even to this day, it's odd. But that was the first DC movie, and I mean, it set me down the path of me loving Batman by himself.
Yeah. I got into, I remember distinctly being way into the 89 Batman when that first came out, and I was really young. 89, I must have been like 7 or 8 years old. But I mean, 89 Batman, it was all over the place. I mean, that was a big deal that year. And I remember having a couple of older cousins. They were maybe 3 or 4 years older than me. They were way into it. So of course I was, like, oh, I thought it was so cool. I remember seeing comic book adaptations. So I started getting into Batman comics. I think my mom bought me my first Batman comic from Eckerd Drugs. Do you remember Eckerd Drugs?
I remember Eckerd, yeah.
The Walgreens of the day, and just buying it off the shelf. And that was my first comic book. And I must have been about 8 or 9 years old. And it was over since then, man. I went through a few years of collecting comics, and I had, floppy issues.
I never remember you at least from when we met, really being a comic collector. I mean, I know you were into them, but I never really, I knew you would get the graphic novels periodically where you'd get them all, in one release, but not so much say issue by issue.
After I moved to Louisville, I started collecting, and I had some boxes that eventually I got rid of. But yeah, I used to follow, and I still, from time to time, Instead, now, with the technology these days, I might just peruse the iPad and buy a graphic novel and read it if I hear good reviews about it, and just read it on the tablet, which is kind of neat. But anyway, yeah, I mean, you and I have been into DC for a while, but you haven't really been a huge fan, or at least that you haven't caught these latest DC movies that they've been putting out the last few years, have you?
No, and really, what I think the main reason to that is I was starting to get comic book movie like fatigue.
Yeah.
I was starting to get really fatigued by it. I mean, they had me. I wanted to see it out.
Yeah.
And man, did they hit a home run. They basically roped me right back in for another decade, probably at least.
By that 12th, 13th Marvel movie, you were like, phew, I don't know.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if I want to see this, but I've got to see it because I've got this far. So deciding there was so many out there. I think Wonder Woman 84 was coming out. And I was like, okay, I want to see that movie. Yeah. So I decided to sit down, and I went back and I watched Wonder Woman. So I watched that one in preparation of this one here.
Yeah.
And really that kind of set me down a path of, okay, so I've seen this. I'm interested in Aquaman. So let's check out Aquaman. And then I've heard so many negative things about, the Justice League.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm already going down this path. I might as well see the movie knowing that, there's going to be a 6-hour portion in 6 episodes coming to HBO Max at some point that Snyder's redoing.
Had you seen Batman v Superman in the theater?
Yeah. Not in the theater. No, I seen that at home. It was okay. One of those things that I just didn't have the time or the money really to go ahead and dedicate, both to Marvel and DC at the same time. So I just kind of decided to go with what I knew.
So before we get into this recent binge of yours with some of these other ones, what were your initial feelings on Batman v Superman?
I was originally, when it was actually getting ready, I was pumped.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I thought it was just gonna be Batman and Superman, and it was before they threw the Dawn of Justice underneath it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because they did that. They did that whole thing on you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, I'm just gonna have Batman and Superman. I'm having them going at it. And then all of a sudden, they threw that. I'm like, oh, okay. Now they're trying to do what Marvel did now. I see
catch up in one movie.
Yeah, I seen right through it. I was like, okay. And so I wasn't as pumped. And I think that's why I decided not to see it in the theater.
Yeah, just organically, it was a fail. I mean, they didn't want to copycat Marvel. Marvel had this, brilliant, they had Kevin Feige, who led this ship over a decade period, starting with Iron Man. Here's a character that not too many people really know about as far as the general public. Here's a charismatic actor, Robert Downey Jr. I almost called him Tony Stark because he's so interchangeable these days. But it's like, and that was a big hit, right? And they had to, and they had the opportunity to introduce these characters organically, where it's like, okay, well, here's the Captain America movie, here's the Thor movie, and you learn about these characters bit by bit. So by the time 2012 came around and the first Avengers movie was here, we were like, oh crap, this is awesome. This is what everything's been leading to. And they were able to really kind of shoot off from there with all the sequels and the Avengers sequels. I
didn't have a big problem on how they did Batman versus Superman. I actually enjoyed that. I mean, I'm a big Batman fan. Like I already said, I'm a bigger Batman fan than I am Superman.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that Batman beat him down and basically beat him down to the point where Superman knew he could have killed him, and he didn't.
Right.
But I also liked in this film that how they used Wonder Woman. I thought, without getting in front of putting the cart in front of the horse, I thought they used her better in that film than they did in her 2 standalone films.
Yeah, which is telling because she didn't do much. But I mean, when she dropped into that fight with Doomsday and they started, pumping her music,
that's it. I think she's got the best superhero music. Even better than Batman. Batman to me is a high bar.
Yeah.
But when you hear her music, it actually invokes a reaction.
It's thumping. Yeah, it's good.
You get that even when it's not thumping, even when it's really undertoned
Yeah.
and you hear it, you're like, oh, something's going down.
Well, it's a clear and distinct theme, which they seem to not know how to do these days. I mean, you think of the John Williams Superman theme, you think of the Tim Burton Batman theme. They're iconic. You know, you hear just a few notes and you know what the heck it is. They haven't really done that to even the Marvel. I mean, they have, you know, an Avengers theme and stuff, but none of them match that old school DC stuff.
Yeah, no, Marvel has nothing to like the Wonder Woman theme. There's nothing in Marvel that can hold a candle to that.
Okay, so going there, you know, and that's where everybody started out basically was Batman v Superman, and then from there they wanted to launch directly into Justice League to kind of introduce everybody else. But there's another set. We'll get back to the movies here. There's another set of movies within the DC realm that are strictly animated, and these are actually more successful, or I don't know if I should say more successful. They're more well received by the DC fans than the actual cinematic versions.
Yeah.
The animated stuff people love. Like they collect the Blu-rays, they bring them on, and they've basically adapted a lot of the story arcs from the comics, a lot of graphic novels into these animated films. Some are like, you know, 2 parts. They're about an hour and a half or less each, so not a huge, you know, time investment, but there are a lot of them because there's been a lot of stories told over 75 years of DC comics. So you've actually seen a couple of these though, right?
Yeah, actually, well, I made a point of seeing one because I knew that the rumor is that the Flash movie is going to be the Flashpoint Paradox, and I knew that they did an actual, you know, animated version of this, and thanks to, you know, HBO Max, they've got a lot of it there. So I was able to actually kind of dive into it and see exactly, you know, what that entails.
Right.
And
HBO Max. Oh, Basement Studio. What's up, gents? What's up, guys? Can't wait to talk to you guys soon.
But dude, I'm gonna tell you, watching that, I was confused as all get out. After 20 minutes into it, I was completely. Well, first of all, I didn't know that there was another character that was equally fast as the Flash.
Reverse Flash. Yeah.
Dude shows up in a yellow suit. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
Right.
So that happened. So right there, I'm already okay. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So that happens, and then all of a sudden things go backwards, and they wind up in a world or a time where Wonder Woman and Aquaman are at war with each other. And I'm like, and they're going to cause the end of civilization for these two, you know, groups fighting.
Yeah.
And then you still have this reverse Flash going around and
stuff up.
Yeah. I mean, then you have Batman, who isn't Batman. It's Batman's dad.
Thomas Wayne. Yeah.
Thomas. So I enjoyed it immensely. Once I put my brain back together and was able to kind of sit down and kind of take it all in.
Yeah.
So I think that was a great step for me to watch that. Now I'm actually excited to see a live action, you know, Flashpoint movie if that's the direction they're going in.
Good. Yeah, it's supposed to be similar. I don't think it's going to be exactly the same because it's going to have, you know, Michael Keaton playing his Batman from, you know, the 89, the Tim Burton movies. But yeah, I think it's the same kind of basic idea. I don't know if Reverse Flash is in there as well, but maybe that's why the animated stuff is so well received, is because they don't assume that newcomers are watching these things. They kind of almost assume that a DC fan is watching because they just throw, you know, characters at you like crazy.
Fast. Yeah. There was no, it's like, if you don't know what's going on, good luck catching up.
Right. But
that's pretty much
you know, you just kind of like accepted that and been like, well, and you enjoyed the story overall once you realized that you had to sit down and watch it and pay attention.
I think I sent you a text going, what the hell is going on? I'm watching this. I think that was my first response.
Yeah. So from there, you watched another Justice League themed animated movie.
Well, it wasn't Justice League itself. It was the Batman Return to the Dark Knight.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
It was that one there. Basically, when Batman retires.
Yeah.
And then he comes back. And it's, I mean, the animated Batman is so much different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot more, well, this one here, I mean, he's a lot more like in your face. I'm just going to thug you up.
That was based off a graphic novel by Frank Miller. Frank Miller was the same guy who did the Sin City books. You remember the Sin City
Yeah.
movies? So very gritty, very like, men are like, 7 feet tall and built like a, shit brick
But
house.
this is what I want to see. Being a Batman person,
Yeah.
I want to see this Batman in live action. I want to see the difference between Batman and these other superheroes is we see in the comics, he ages.
Yeah.
He gets older. There is a point where he has to pass on what he knows to somebody else. I want to like how it ended when he's walking down to the Batcave and he takes on that new Robin. I forget her name. And
It's Carrie, but yeah.
and he's basically going to pass on the rebuilding because Wayne Manor was destroyed.
Right.
He's passing on his knowledge to somebody else. That's what I want to see actually in an actual live action film, just because it shows the mortality of him. He's just a rich, pissed off dude. That's in reality, that's all he is.
Think about it. I mean, football players retire if they can make it to 40 while still playing football. I mean, they're like gods. I mean, football players retire when they're, I don't know, in their late 20s into their 30s. Typically, if they, beaten
Some
bad
of them get lucky and reach late 30s. Yeah, if they're very lucky.
Week. Think of Batman, who does it, night in, night out, and putting his body through torture. I mean, by the time he's 35, 30, he's probably got, he had a broken back one time in the comics. So it's realistic to think. I mean, the guy doesn't have superpowers. I think that's why they've explored that over the years. It's just like Batman's going to need assistance with this crusade.
And we've gotten so many like either reboots of Batman or Batman stories where he is younger. I mean, we have the Batman coming out.
Right.
So, I mean, it's rehashing Batman over and over and over again I'd say within a decade of the actual storyline. So we're getting all these different stories within a decade. Well, shoot that forward 3-4 decades, and let's see him when he's barely able to walk around because he's beaten up so bad.
Yeah, maybe that's what we'll get with the Michael Keaton version. I don't know, but it is cool that we're going to see old man Batman here in live action here soon.
Yeah, but that whole thing with the Joker getting out and gassing the whole TV studio and just the new the new thugs or the new gang that was taken over who became kind of like Batman's new like backup crew. That whole, I mean, I enjoyed that one immensely.
Yeah, he wrote a very very kind of unique Gotham where aspects of it ended up kind of staying in the comics afterwards. But very gritty, very gothic, but just like the gangs, the different gangs.
Yeah.
Joker usually has his henchmen, but the fact that there are gangs with the bat symbol painted on their face, like going out and like being vigilantes and doing kind of the same thing the Batman was doing, only on a multiple people.
Yeah, exactly.
A really interesting idea because he became that symbol that people could follow, just the way Christian Bale was talking about when he first became Batman. And Batman,
he came back too, and he wasn't accepted. I mean, with him coming back, he was actually wanted.
That scene where he comes and he beats that gang leader, like the big monstrous gang leader, and they have that
storm drain area.
Yeah, badass, dude.
Yeah, that whole thing was cool. I mean, between that and then have to basically win over the new commissioner because Commissioner Gordon retires.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that whole story, I mean, that's set up for a live action.
I'm excited that you are diving into some of this DC stuff because honestly, I love the Marvel movies. I was never a Marvel Comics guy. I would read issues here and there. As far as comics go, I took a deep dive into DC related stuff. I mean, stuff that you're aware of, like Kingdom Come, the Alex Ross painted,
I actually want to find that one actually. Because I'm actually a hard copy guy. I mean, I'm still looking at this over here, and I need to get another one. But it's the, the
Sandman, yeah,
the Sandman. I mean, I love this, and basically that was just because, they went ahead and did that audiobook that introduced me to him.
Right.
I think it's spectacular, and I can't wait for the Netflix. It's either Netflix or Amazon. They're actually doing a series based off the graphic novel. So I'm pumped for that.
Yeah, that's one of the good things about all these streaming services is that they have the freedom. They're so content hungry that they're going back to these properties that never would have had its own movie or series back in the day. I mean, a Sandman series, that's just not something that would happen. But here in, the 2020s where you've got Amazon Prime, HBO Max, blah, 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 you've got a dozen different content streaming services that are, need properties to create and make. We're kind of in a golden age of going back to the well with good stories and bringing them to life.
Yeah. Oh, what's up,
What's up, brother?
Yeah, thanks for watching, man.
Oh, I think that's my brother Tim. What's up, brother? Watching us on Twitch. Thanks for joining us.
There we go. But yeah, I mean, you've always been that DC guy. But
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
I've never actually been a comics person.
Right.
And I think you were shocked when Marvel got me. And
Yeah.
I mean, I was Marvel's target.
Yeah.
And Marvel was successful. DC has not been successful in bringing me in. Now, I did dive in. I have, watched it. I haven't given them any money for it. I mean, I've already had HBO Max and I have it through my cable service.
Yeah.
So I'm not a subscriber because they put Wonder Woman 84 on HBO Max. It's just I had, it was there for me. So I decided to, look into it. Now, because they put extra content on there, I went ahead and enjoying it.
Yeah. Good. AT&T Time Warner hasn't gotten your DC money just yet, but maybe someday.
Well, with all the stuff they're planning, yeah, exactly. Oh no, they got it. They've got it through not Time Warner, Spectrum.
Oh yeah. Well, there you go. I'm trying to think here. Let's see. Will they ever make a Ghost Rider series? I feel like there's plenty of stuff there. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. You've got HBO Max, which is its own service. And I think they even had a DC streaming service. Like DC had its own streaming service.
Well, they came out with the news recently. Hamada came out and said they're going to be focusing 4 motion picture releases and then 2 full stream movies for HBO Max. And they said they're going to be movies that are going to be more riskier characters. So Ghost Rider, Static Shock was one they brought up. So they're ones that could very well have their own movie, but released strictly on HBO Max.
I think Ghost Rider might be Marvel. Yeah, Ghost Rider is a Marvel character. He's not DC, so he's not going to be on HBO Max. That's for sure. That was my bad. And I don't know. That's kind of the freedom that HBO Max has for some of these darker characters. I really can't see Disney Plus creating a series around a darker Marvel character.
Not right now.
No. We'll see what comes down the line. Maybe a Hulu venture, but Ghost Rider may not. You may just have to watch those Nick Cage movies a couple more times because
if you can sit through them.
Yeah, that's all you're getting. But back to DC here. So we went through a couple. Let's dive back into the cinematic universe here, the DCEU, the DC Extended Universe, as they called it for a little bit. Justice League. So kind of the direct sequel to Batman v Superman. What'd you feel about the live action Justice League movie?
Okay, so this may be because I went into it with such low expectations. Yeah. I've heard so many people dump on this movie.
Yeah.
Like over and over and over. And I was like, yeah, you included. Yeah. Pretty much everyone I know that enjoys these movies was like, yeah, avoid this at all cost. But I decided not to. I went in with my expectations being as low as they possibly could be. And I think because of that, I enjoyed it. But I kind of looked at it like my untrained eye seen issues.
Right.
Of like, what's going on here? I figured Steppenwolf was cool. That character was cool. But my biggest issue with him was they did to him what I'm hoping they don't do to Star Wars villains. He was awesome, but he was a punk.
Right.
I mean,
nerfed.
Yeah, there was nothing to him. There was no reason to be scared of him because of, they've got Superman or whatever. It was I just didn't like that. And it just they crammed too much together.
That's exactly what the problem is and what my issue with it was. I mean, you've already got a movie where you're trying to cram in a bunch of characters that we really haven't met yet, including the Flash and Cyborg. And you want to get these characters together. Even Aquaman didn't have his own movie at that time.
That threw me off.
Aquaman. Yeah.
because I didn't know the timeline, because this was pre him becoming, king of, his little land. And I was like, hold on, why is he not in his full, green and gold get up?
Right.
Why does he have his mother's trident still?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
It was basically a prequel to Aquaman.
Yeah.
Almost, yeah.
They were right there. They completely fumbled the timeline. That's one thing you didn't see in Marvel. They
Right.
went right down the road, and you built characters and you knew where they were. So when they all came together, there was no confusing anything.
Yeah. So if you think about it, I mean, he was Arthur Curry in Justice League, but he hadn't really become Aquaman.
Yeah, he
It's
hasn't
like he
seen
was,
his mom yet, or the
yeah.
whole Black Manta thing hasn't happened yet.
Tip says, I saw Batman v Superman in theaters. First time I've actually fallen asleep in a theater in a long time. Woke up just as lost as everyone else sitting around here. I felt the same way about Batman v Superman. I was looking forward to it. The word that I walked away with was just slog. Just felt boring and depressing and dark, like unnecessarily dark. I'm not a fan.
Like the dark. I like the dark.
I
that's
like
something
dark
I like
too,
about it.
but to even make Superman dark, I'm not a fan. Like Superman's just not inherently a dark character. So when you put that in that, it's like a round peg square hole situation. It's just like not working for me. But anyway, Justice League, which is basically, like I said before, the direct sequel to Batman v Superman, I thought it was just all over the place. Like I was saying earlier, you're already introducing all these different characters, which the audience doesn't really know. And then on top of that, you have to continue the plot where Superman had died. So you have to bring Superman back to life. So you've got that. That's in its own long graphic novel in itself. The Doomsday.
Well, he split into like five or six different Superman when he came back too.
Yeah, that was a huge thing back in the 90s, and it really deserved kind of its own story without being crammed into a Justice League, origin story. And then the Steppenwolf stuff, which is, when you're introducing Steppenwolf and ahead of him is going to be Doomsday, which Doomsday is really, like the Thanos of the DC universe.
Yeah.
Like he's a big bad, he's a big deal. So you're also trying to cram that in there. Well, and then there was all the behind the scenes stuff. I thought the script was bloated with too much stuff, but you also had halfway during production, Zack Snyder had to step away, who was directing it for personal issues. And then they brought Joss Whedon in to, basically finish it and get it out on time. But these are two different directors with two completely different, you get basically, think of Zack Snyder, The Watchmen, Dawn of the Dead, Batman v Superman, his aesthetic, right? Very kind of dark, and there's action, but everything's very bigger and larger than life. And then you see, Joss Whedon, who did the Avengers and Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it's a little bit more popcorn, a little bit more fun. So you've got two very different directors.
Well, you
very
see that
different
immediately
styles.
with Flash. The first thing I thought with Flash was Flash is basically DC's version of Spider-Man.
Right.
They're both about the same age. They're both quirky. They're both clumsy. They're both just kind of they're kind of almost comic relief in a way without meaning to be comic relief.
Yeah, and I think the film, ultimately the one that was released into theaters, suffered because of that, because it was there was a tonal shift. You couldn't really get your finger on what kind of movie it was trying to be. But that being said, we mentioned HBO Max. One of the big selling points of HBO Max coming out was that Zack Snyder is actually finishing his version of the movie. He said he filmed about, another 6 hours worth of movie, and they truncated it down to basically half of that 2 hour release time because half of that stuff wasn't even his.
Obviously, I don't know how interested I am in this. Definitely with the new news coming out, basically with him saying he's not continuing in the DCU. This is going to be it, and he's walking away. So why would I invest 6 hours of time to watch something that's going to have no continuity with anything going forward the DC universe?
Well, that's where I think it may, because I've also heard whispers that this Zack Snyder version of Justice League is what they're going to use canonically going forward into the movies.
If that's the case, then they got to get out in front of it and say that's what's going to happen. Because with Amada coming on and signing on for as long as he has now, and then Snyder come out saying he's not continuing, they got to get out there for people like me, people that won't be in the know like that, to know that you need to see this for the other movies to make sense, and then you have to check it out on HBO Max.
Plus the logistics thing. I mean, you're not going to be able to have Henry Cavill forever as Superman, and Ben Affleck, they're already kind of given the boot as Batman. So it's like if you continue forward in that universe, I don't know what the heck they're doing, honestly. I mean, that's another issue with the DC movies is that they just didn't seem to have a plan as far as long-term plan as how to keep these characters going. But anyway, so Justice League you felt was better than expected, but I guess like you said, your expectations were set really low given the bar.
Well, I mean, I wanted more from the Flash. I wanted more from Cyborg. I wanted to know more about Cyborg. I don't know what they're going to do with Cyborg now that what's his name, Ray something. He's got so many issues with Warner Brothers and with Hamada. He said basically he's not going to be returning as long as Hamada's there. So that's pretty much the end of him and Cyborg unless they mend fences. So I don't know if we're going to get anything more from him. So I mean, I enjoyed the character, but I didn't get anything I knew nothing of him. So it's like, okay. And then I thought they kind of force fed us Aquaman in that movie.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, so you also watched the Aquaman movie. What you think about that one?
Loved every second of that movie.
Oh, okay. Okay.
From the very beginning, when his mother comes up and she falls in love with his dad in the lighthouse, they have him, and then they find out that she's got to go back because they're hunting her down. They found her. To him basically trying to find his, land legs.
Yeah.
And then we find out that one of the the King's Guard or whatever you want to call him has been training him up on land to come back, but then he wants nothing to do with it. Visually, it was amazing. I thought Black Manta needed more time. That was a fantastic bad guy, and I think we're going to get more based on the after credit scene on what we've seen there. So that one there for me was a home run.
Do you ever know that Aquaman was brothers with Boba Fett?
You mean son?
Well,
he's the son of Boba Fett. His dad was.
I was thinking Jango Fett. Yeah, he was the son of Jango Fett. But anyway, Tamora Morrison.
That pulled me out. To be completely honest with you,
it probably did.
That pulled me out of the movie.
Yeah,
because when I seen him, I seen Boba Fett.
Sure,
because it's so recent.
Well, it's recent. Plus, we've been seeing Tamora Morrison's face plastered all over Star Wars forever. Whether it's Jango, Boba, or a clone trooper, we've seen his face forever.
Yeah, so that pulled me up. But I loved every minute of it. I thought the actual visuals of the movie were spectacular. You can see the money spent in this movie. Now, this is one I regret not seeing in the theater. I mean, the 4K version I watched on TV, the audio I have is amazing. Yeah. But the size, the scope, you don't get at home. And that's one, with him swimming into Atlantis, and everything. And it just, when he first comes in over the canyon, you see it for the first time. You can't duplicate that.
Yeah, and I think this interpretation of a Jason Momoa Aquaman, which is almost more appropriate because, in the comics, he's just this like Aryan. He looks like Steve Rogers, just like blonde hair, blue eyes, just this guy. But I mean, Jason Momoa, like you believe he's got like the, like the
tribal
tattoos and stuff. Like you could tell he's of, oceanic people, like he's of, that, that heritage and that group of people. So I liked the changes that they made. And I honestly, going forward, I have a hard time seeing Aquaman as anything else but a Jason Momoa-like character. And you could tell that he was loving it too. I mean, he really did well in the role. And, I liked his portrayal, just like he had kind of a dry sense of humor at times. And he was badass, but he was also kind. And it was very cool, especially towards the end where he got used to that, using that trident. And the fight with his brother.
Well, then when he found his mom, too, you seen him a different angle. You've seen the badass the whole way. Then when he finds his mom in that one area, or when he realizes it's his mom who saved him, it's kind of like all of a sudden all that armor falls off.
Yeah,
and then
good characterization, good story, good effects, good acting. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, it was the first time that a DC movie kind of hit like, all right, that was a good one. Keep doing them like that. And hopefully you guys will get back on the right track.
Well, I think if that one was a flop for me, I wouldn't have continued.
Yeah.
Because it went Wonder Woman for me, preparing for 84. and then it was Aquaman. I was like, and I was so pumped after I walked out Aquaman. I think we watched Wonder Woman 84 the following night.
Mm,
So it was kind of one of those. It had the ball rolling for me. I was like, okay, let's keep this going. I mean, I'm feeling this right now.
yeah. So another movie that came out recently within the last couple of years, and another character that hasn't had a ton of portrayals out there, and a lot of people don't know about him, is well, his character name is actually Captain Marvel, but because the same year Marvel was putting out their Captain Marvel, he had to go ahead and get a name change to Shazam. Now, you just watched this right before we hopped on, right? I don't even know how you like this movie or if you did like it.
I finished it at 9:00.
Yeah.
We recorded at 10. I got some. I've been talking to you, sir. There was some not so family friendly portions of this movie for my 4-year-old and my soon to be 8-year-old. These seven deadly sins.
The CG creatures.
Yeah,
Oh,
they were,
yeah.
and when they were in the boardroom with his dad. Yeah, there was some rough, like, oh, guys, Skylar kind of hit her eyes and ran out of the room.
I honestly don't remember all that.
Yeah, no,
I remember that.
it wasn't horrible. It was. I mean, the kids got bored with it. I was hoping Zach would enjoy it.
Yeah.
Both kids really got bored with it. I mean, and if I'm going to be completely honest with you, okay, well, let's start with the positive sides here. The character was very fun.
Yeah.
I love Zach Levi as Shazam.
Yeah.
Even though I have a hard time not picturing him in a green polo saying, buy more.
Yeah, you used to watch Chuck?
I love Chuck. I got a green polo hanging in my closet. I actually bought the polo. I'll walk into Best Buy wearing it every now and then and throw them off.
I didn't realize you were a big Chuck fan.
Oh, I loved Chuck. I was so mad when they took that off the air. I like the feeling of it. I liked how he was always looking for his mom. I like the conclusion of that. But there was times it felt like it was slow.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
But the story as a whole flowed well.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from as far as the plot, maybe the structure of the movie. But overall it won me with the family dynamic, just how these were like, an adopted family. They were kind of a blended family put together. It was the kind of an overarching plot of just a family coming together. That's all, like kids not knowing each other and then working together. And then at the end, because I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. But at the end, where all the kids got their individual superpowers and they all became superheroes like Shazam, that was a big surprise. But it's what happens in the comics. I mean, it's the Marvel family in the comics.
Yeah, I kind of learned that a little bit by Flashpoint, because there was like 5 or 6 of them all together, and they were they addressed them as Shazam. I'm like,
yeah, so I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. So when it did happen, it was a nice, delightful surprise in the movie theater. I actually went to go see that with Christina, and she enjoyed it. So I think it's one worth seeing. And you're right, it had its own kind of pacing issues, but I thought it was another, either recommend or not recommend when it comes to a DC movie. It's a solid recommend for me.
Yeah, well, I think I'd be in the right mood and mindset for it. Honestly, it's not your in-your-face comic book movie, really. It's kind of a goofy, I'm learning what to do with what I'm, I now am, what am I?
Yeah.
Type things. So, I mean, I thought it was kind of slow. There was times where I kind of got bored.
Yeah, I'm surprised your kids didn't enjoy it more. It's it's very much...
Zach? Okay, so I'm going to give you some insight to Zach, because you haven't seen Zach in a little while. Actually, since our camping trip. He wants to see Batman vs. Superman. He loved Justice League.
Okay.
He enjoyed that. Now, it was just go, 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 go in your face.
Right.
That's kind of where his mindset is. He's going to be an 8-year-old boy.
Yeah.
So that's where he is now. Wow, 8 years old. Good God.
I know. Bad.
But the next movie I watch with him will be Batman v Superman. So
okay.
He even asked me, is like, because he watched Justice League, and his first question was like, Daddy, isn't Batman and Superman on the same team? I'm like, dude, they don't like each other. I mean, they may be on the same team, but they really don't like each other. He's like, really? I was like, I didn't want to go too deep into it because I wasn't sure how to explain it to him. I was
Right.
like,
At least in that iteration, yeah, they don't like each other.
for an 8-year-old to not understand that. And that was one of my big problems about going back to that movie. Why did Superman forget everybody else? But the guy that beat him down but didn't kill him, he wasn't responsible for, he didn't kill him. Doomsday is the one that killed him.
Yeah.
Why didn't he remember Batman and nobody else?
I don't know.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
know we're going back a couple steps.
Right.
But that was another thing that took me out of that movie. But going back to Shazam here,
So I liked it more than you did.
what was that? Yeah. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it for what it was. I don't foresee me revisiting it anytime soon.
Yeah.
I will see the sequel because I enjoyed it. And it was essentially just an origin story. I mean, that's all that really was. There was really nothing more behind that besides an origin story.
Yeah, an origin story and also kind of a family comedy. And, there was a couple different genres thrown in there, but I get your point on that.
It made me chuckle a few times.
So beyond Shazam, we get into the piece de resistance here, the movie or set of movies that kicked off this whole DC binge for you, because Wonder Woman 1984 was coming out Christmas Day on HBO Max. Kind of a special thing because we haven't had a lot of new movies here over the last year, right? So it's kind of a big deal for them to release this on streaming and in theaters on Christmas Day. And we've seen a bunch of colorful, beautiful posters for it at that DC event that we watched earlier in the year. Some trailers. We knew that Pedro Pascal was going to be in it, as well as he's
with full head of hair and just the whole deal. No helmet. Yeah, that was kind of
his voice even sounded different. He didn't even sound like Mando. But anyway, so let's get your feelings on the original Wonder Woman.
I hated it. I mean, I'm just gonna be as blunt as I could be.
Yeah.
I thought the first half of the movie was just there. I mean, I figured it took way too long to get through the beginning of the first half of the movie, with her meeting Trevor or
Steve Trevor.
It drug on way too long. A 2.5 hour movie, they could have cut that under 2 hours. There was no reason it was that long.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's so weird because I like Gal Gadot. I think she's very charismatic.
Yes.
I think she looks great as Wonder Woman.
Oh, she looks great, period. Let's be real.
Well, she looks great, period, but she looks great in the Wonder Woman outfit too.
Yeah, even more so the Wonder Woman outfit.
Yeah, and I like her. She's not the greatest actress, but I like her as Wonder Woman. I don't have too many problems with it. I think the story is a little bit all over the place, and even more so in the sequel, but we'll get to it. For me, the biggest issue with the original Wonder Woman, I thought there were gems. The scene that stands out and which everybody kind of talked about is when they're in that war-torn battlefield and they kind of want to leave innocent people that are behind enemy lines, kind of there because they don't have much choice. And she's like, she defies the men that she's with. And she's like, well, no, I have a choice and I'm going to do it. So you guys do whatever. And I'm Wonder Woman. I'm Diana of Themyscira and I'm going to go and do my own thing. So she goes out into the battlefield. She's got shells and mortars just like hitting her. She's deflecting them. She's got her shield. She's got her bracelets and she's just walking through this battlefield in slow motion. Totally epic scene. And I loved it. I loved the lead up to it. And then you follow up something like that with just her very strange, it kind of devolved into a 90s superhero movie with bad CG at the end fighting the god Ares. And they just didn't really know how to end it properly given the rest of the movie, I thought.
Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing I'll give at the end of it is it was just action packed. I mean, every time, one of the scenes I think of that stands out to me is when they were in the actual trench.
Yeah.
And then there was that dead area in between, they haven't moved. And she walks out and you hear her music. Her music basically brings up a feeling that no other superhero music does. And it was just great.
Yeah,
and that portion. Whenever I heard the music, I'm like, okay, that's when I'm like, I lock on. It's like, okay, we're gonna get something good here.
Something, yeah,
yeah. And I mean, it was always good, but I always feel like the music overshadowed everything else. The music was so much better than the actual movie.
Yeah, there were parts of it. I mean, here's a little indicator, and that's not really. This doesn't really go towards DC movies in particular. I just don't revisit movies a lot, which anymore as an adult. I used to. I used to watch movies like repeatedly, like over and over again, where I could learn all the dialogue. And I mean, you and
Bad
me
boy
with Bad
movies.
Boys, or even just on my own watching the Lethal Weapon
Oh,
movies or
yeah.
Back to the Future or whatever. I would watch
Well,
movies.
being older and being parents, the time is limited now.
Time is limited, and yeah, I just don't revisit movies. So I've seen Wonder Woman once in the theaters and once when I got it, the digital download, and I think that's about it. But there are some gems in there as far as the direction. I think it's directed really well. The story, the plot
I
needs pacing
don't.
issues.
I mean, honestly, after watching that and watching 84, I've got concerns for Rogue Squadron. I don't know why there's so much faith in Patty Jenkins. I don't see it. And after seeing these two big movies, and in my opinion, both these movies with the direction of the movies were a mess. I'm holding my breath, and I don't want to be one of those people that are pushing out like I'm just that they're the Star Wars guys that are pushing like I hating things because I love the world, and I'm actually just started listening to the High Republic.
Yeah.
But I'm just concerned.
After watching Wonder Woman 1984 and learning actually this week that the studio didn't have a lot of creative input with that, it was mostly Patty Jenkins. She had a lot of free reign with that movie. That does concern me too.
But I wonder how much Feige or how much like his hands are going to be on this movie. Because I don't think they're going to give her free reign on it because he has basically his hands in everything Star Wars.
Who, Feige?
No, I'm sorry. Wrong name.
Kennedy.
What was that?
You talking about Kathleen Kennedy
For Star Wars?
Yeah, for Star Wars. For Lucasfilm?
Yeah, okay. I'm saying what my main point is there's somebody that always has some type of you got to run it by us to make sure it's cohesive with the rest of the stories we've already done.
Right, yeah.
That's my only right now, my hope. That it's kind of
she's an Academy Award-winning director. I don't know if she was just I don't have an issue with the directing in the first one. It's the writing. It's either writing and directing. You can only polish a turd so much. If the script is garbage, then I don't care how well you direct it. It's not going to be very good. You're going to have plot issues and pacing issues, and Act 1, 2, and 3 aren't going to match up and gel appropriately. But I thought Wonder Woman 84 was just garbage all the way around. All of it was bad.
The best part of that movie was at the island when she was young. The race. That was the best part of that movie.
Yeah, the opening was pretty decent, and then from there it just goes downhill and stays downhill.
And they originally wanted her to pull that from the movie. They wanted to completely eliminate that portion of the movie, which was the best part of the movie.
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, there were so many issues with that one, with the wishing stone, what wishes can go, what wishes can stay, the weird body swap.
Yeah.
The two wishes essentially Kristen Wiig's character got to become Cheetah. I mean, she had the one, and then the second one was kind of like he gave her a bonus wish in the jet.
Right.
So I mean, okay, so now certain people get an extra wish.
That's why typically, like, granting wishes, you see, like, in Aladdin, there's a lot of rules attached to it.
Well, they tried to place rules on, then they were breaking their own rules within the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's the issue. Like, I have this magic stone that can grant wishes. Okay, so like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, it's almost like time travel. Like, once you open up that door, it could just go off the rails so quick.
Yeah.
So it got to a point where it's just became too hard to follow. And like, I like Pedro Pascal, but I didn't really like his character at all. Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot, I don't think she was that great. This was my least favorite, portrayal of Wonder Woman in this movie, even though they tried their best to like add some more Wonder Woman type classic Wonder Woman type stuff, like using her lasso more and more in fights. cool, kind of like the traditional Wonder Woman of the 70s and the TV show. The Invisible Jet, they had a scene about that, and that's kind of that's fun and cool. I like that they tried, but it was just they were failing on the execution of it all.
I mean, and coming from, I really didn't have a whole lot of knowledge going into it, so I didn't go into this with like my expectations being really low.
Yeah.
I went into it knowing that it wasn't hitting on as many fans as they wanted it to, but there's still, kind of the group that were still holding to it. So I kind of went into it and watched it, and I was like, once again, I was like, it was too long. And there was just so many continuity issues in the movie and just weird things. I'm like, I can't.
And just like convenient plot devices where you could just feel like it's just an easy, when you have stuff like that, it's just like these plot contrivances where it's like, well, we can't go from point A to point B in a way that makes sense. But we have this magic wishing stone, so we can just wish our way from point A to point B.
But then there's like, okay, so Pedro Pascal's character, I can't remember his name. He's standing there in front of the camera and he's telling everyone to make a wish. His son makes a wish for his dad to be with him. So his son's wish didn't come true. He didn't all of a sudden transform from that one spot in front of the cameras to in front of his son. Right. Why was that wish not, granted when everyone else's wishes were?
Yeah, it was all over the place. But I mean, that's when you introduce something like a magic stone that grants wishes, you're gonna run into crap issues like that. Yeah. So they were really just kind of pushing things against the wall. I don't know. I'm wondering if it was better that they did release it in streaming and it wasn't this big theatrical release, because I think it would have even gotten more of a shellacking than it did.
Well, they're streamlining the third one. They're already making a third one.
They announced like that day, like the day after. They're like, okay, Wonder Woman 3, because this is such a big hit. Like, is it?
Yeah, would have been. I mean, think about it. If you go regular time, people would have gone and seen it.
Oh, yeah.
First opening weekend would have been huge, no matter what.
Yep.
Then the word would have gotten out.
Yeah.
And then it would have dropped off. So to give you a comparison, the Disney released Soul on Christmas Day. And then Wonder Woman was released by Warner Brothers on HBO Max. And they were hoping that Wonder Woman would boost their numbers. They only boosted them by about 500. Was it 500 million? No, 500,000, I think it was. Okay. 500,000. Disney Plus, I think it was like 4.5 million.
Oh, wow.
It destroyed them to a level of that with Soul over Wonder Woman.
No kidding.
Now, they don't know if that a lot of that is because of it may have cannibalized itself because it was released in theaters as well.
Yeah.
Or if it was just because once people seen it in theaters, they weren't quick to rush and download it to see it again. Or other people, word got out quickly.
I think that's probably what it is. The word got out quickly that it's just not that good of a movie. When Soul, on the other hand, I've heard nothing but praise on Soul.
Have you watched it?
I've watched the tail end of it. Verona's watched it when my mom was here for the holidays. They watched it together. From what I saw, it seemed okay. But I don't know.
It's fun. It's another Pixar does those movies well.
Yeah.
If it was the one about the girl with the feelings,
Inside Out.
Inside Out, it falls right down the lines of that movie.
Okay.
And we actually watched that Christmas Day. So we're part of that group that watched that movie over Wonder Woman 84. We actually specifically set a time to watch it. We watched it with dinner. So, and then we watched 84 and Jess and I at a later time, but we enjoyed that one immensely more.
Mm. Well, there you go. That's going to probably end the discussion here with our your DC binge here over the holidays.
It's probably going to keep on going. I think I want to go ahead and check out more of the animated stuff.
Yeah.
So here and there. So I think they've got their hooks in me a little bit because now I'm curious. I want to know a little bit more about some other stories, and definitely if they're going to be continuing on with other things. And they've got me now basically for the Justice League Snyder Cut.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, if I find out something that they are going to be using the continuity from that going forward, I mean that'll be a reason for me to actually watch. Now, if I'm going to give them $15 on my money at a theater, I still can't commit to that. But
Right.
I mean, if they get me, they get me. They'll get their money somehow. If it's through like video on demand or HBO Max or
Yeah.
in the theater. But I think that, like I said before, with Marvel, they hooked me.
Yeah.
I was who they were trying to get. So let's see if DC can do the same thing.
Well, I think that's going to do it for this week of Dadnarok High Voltage. Just taking a bit of a deep dive into the DC movies. Go ahead and like and subscribe. Hit that bell so you don't miss any of the Dadnarok fun. Like I said, join us each and every week for Dadnarok High Voltage. We're going to start talking about WandaVision. We deep dive about DC, but that's going to be.
Did you watch the Legends today? I actually spent some time and watched the Legends.
No, I need to. I'm going to this weekend.
You need not even 30 minutes.
Oh,
it's two, and people were kind of bashing on it because it's two clips. It's 1 7 minutes, 1 6 minutes, and it's just a rehashing of what we know from the movies already. So it's nothing more. It's nothing more than that. No, it was pretty cool because I forgot how pretty awesome Wanda was.
Yeah, yeah.
It kind of glazed over in the movie. So to see her actually in her glory, actually being focused on, was pretty fun to watch.
Oh, well, I'm definitely going to check it out then, especially if it's not a big time dump. But like I said, that's going to do it for us. Join us every week. Join us on YouTube. Join us on Twitch. If you guys haven't, I know most people kind of watch us on YouTube. That's kind of the biggest platform out there to watch live video content. I know Twitch is out there, but if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and like the channel so you can get notifications when we do go live. And reach out to us. Be sure to comment like you did this evening. And I think that's going to be it for this week.
Okay, then I guess we'll see you guys next week at 10 o'clock for WandaVision.
See ya.